Good morning, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press, a comic book publishing company established in 1985, creator of comics such as Warrior Nun, Marvel Mangaverse, Ninja High School, Tomorrow Girl, and a host of other comic books. The other day, I was listening to a podcast from a fellow comic book creator, and he made a I won't say who it is, but trust me, he's pretty well known. Uh, he seems to be having a feud with a fellow creator about, uh, you know, quality of comics, and he made a statement that got me to thinking, and I thought I'd comment on it right here, because honestly, I thought it was a pretty ridiculous statement, but this is what I think. So it basically said, that you know, do you want quality or do you want quantity? And I thought to myself, well, what does he mean by that? Well, I think essentially he means that I'm spending the time to create a product that's supposed to be of such extreme quality that it's worth the wait. And honestly, that is the most ridiculous notion I have ever heard in comics, about comics. I mean, but Ben, what do you mean by that? Isn't it true that the more time you spend on a comic book, the better it's going to be? Surely you jest. And don't call me Shirley. Well, no. It's not about the time you spend on a comic book that creates quality, it's the level of talent. You know, the thing about comic book creators, and let me tell you a little secret. This is something that a lot of the general public do not really know at large. Okay, so over the past several, 4 decades, I've drawn comics and been in this career. I've worn almost every single hat concerning comics. I've been a comic book retailer, been a comic book store owner, been a comic book publisher, been a comic book editor, been a comic book writer, been a comic book artist, been a comic book creator, been a comic book plotter, been a comic book penciler, been a comic book inker, been a comic book colorist. I've worn many, many, many hats, and I know what it takes to create a comic book. It's really not that hard, to be honest, if you know what you're doing. I mean, let me tell you something about comic books in general, the comic industry. Now, if you're a single creator doing your own thing, fine. No problem. Take as long as you want. It's your book. It takes you 10 years to do a comic book. It takes 10 years. The thing is comic books are not literature. I mean, people like to say it is, but the fact of the matter, it isn't. People want to treat it as literature, but it's not. It's their comic books are words with pictures, with little funny word balloons in them, where you put in little pieces of dialogue. That's what comic books are. It's a visual medium. It's something that people look at and see, and as comic book creators, we draw comics. That's our job. Is to draw comics. The reason why Marvel and DC were so successful, because they put out comics on a regular and timely fashion. On a regular schedule, they put out a comic. The public at large, they didn't care how it was produced. They looked at it and decided that, I like this guy's art. I like this story. I'm going to keep buying it. You know what kept them in business? Editors. Editors would make sure that comic books were produced on time. This is the reason why a lot of them end up owning the IPs of these creators, because the creators themselves can't keep up with their own creation. And I'm not going to say this about every comic book creator, but for the most part, comic book creators are not motivated to work on somebody else's project, really. They're doing it because it's a job. They've been hired to do it. If they want a paycheck, they better darn well draw the comic book. There used to be a joke among comic book creators saying, well, do you want it good or do you want it fast? That was a little nudge to the editors and publishers that you'll get your comic book eventually. Comic book creators feel like what they're doing are works of art. Well, for the most part, it is. But you have to realize that it's commercial art. Comic book creators are creating art for commercial purposes. We're doing it to sell good comics. We're doing it not because we're doing it for art's sake. Some of you are. But for the most part, you're in the business because you want to make money. You want to make that sweet, sweet cash. You want to make those Benjamins, so to speak. And the thing is that we are a lot like, we're only as good as the next side hustle, the next gig that we can get. Sometimes a lot of comic book creators will take on as many jobs as possible because they don't know when the next gig is going to come along. They'd rather be overworked than underworked. They just want to take on, and they'll take on a project. You'll start on it, and then somebody else will say, hey, I want to hire you to do the project. Okay. How much does it pay? If it pays more than the current project, he'll abandon the previous project like that. He'll just say, and then he'll tell the person hired him, I'm working on it, or they'll just ghost him, saying, ignore that, and hopefully he'll go away, and eventually, eventually he'll get to it when he feels like it. It's a very poor attitude, I think, to take that a lot of comic book creators have about working on certain projects, and that's very unprofessional in my opinion. Being on both sides of the aisle as being a publisher, publishers have a saying also. Well, we ordered this yesterday. This is one of those things where publishers and editors are in a tight spot because if they can't draw the books themselves, they're totally reliant on the comic book artist to produce the product. Because, wow, believe it or not, publishers need to have comics to print to make money, to stay in business. Ain't that a novel notion, don't you think? Now, the thing about it is that to equate the illogical conceit that more time means a better quality comic is on its face a ridiculous notion. So you're telling me that if a creator can produce a comic book very quickly, very fast, that somehow the quality is lacking? Is that the logic that they're employing here? Are you saying that a fast artist is not a quality artist? Well, I guess Sergio Aragonis is a hack. Jack Kirby is a hack. Jack Kirby was famous to putting out comics. John Byrne, hack. All those speedy artists who put out comics on a regular and timely fashion, all hacks, because they produce their comics fast and they produce them in quantity. The thing about producing comics is that it's the out of sight, out of mind mentality. If the comic is not in front of a person, they forget about it. They lose interest. They don't care. But the thing is that comics are produced, with the intent that you, the buying public, will pick it up and buy it. You're not expected to prepay. No, let's imagine you're at a restaurant and you're seated at a table and the waiter comes with the menu, you know what you want, and then the waiter says, well, you have to prepay for that meal. And sometimes you do, like at buffets and stuff like that, you have to prepay your meal. Okay, so you prepay, but let's say in this particular instance, it's not a buffet. You have to prepay for a meal. Okay, let's say you want, roast beef with mashed potatoes and green beans, and it costs, $15 for that meal. So he said, okay, I'll prepay it. Here's $15. Okay, and then he takes the order. The waiter takes the order to the back, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. 15 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by, an hour goes by, and then you begin to ask the waiter, hey, where's my meal? I've been waiting here for an hour, for roast beef, mashed potatoes, and green beans. He says, monsieur, the chef, he's an artiste. He wants to take his time to create the meal for you. Trust me, when you get it, it would be a work of art. You see how that works? The thing is that if you promise to deliver a comic book on a certain time, you better darn well adhere to that deadline, or at least come very close to it. There's a reason why it's called a deadline. You need to get it in, because you know what? The one thing you can't buy is time. Time is the one thing you can. If you have to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years for a comic book, is it really worth it? It doesn't matter if it's like meticulously detailed. It's fantastically drawn. Think about it. A kid going into high school when a comic book starts, and you have to wait 4 years, that kid's already graduated. It's unlike a movie, where there's a lot of wheels involved in the creation of a movie. A movie can take years to make because there's a lot of moving parts in a wheel. In a comic book, what you got? What moving part do you have? This and this. That's it. That's all you need. Other than paper, and something to draw with. That's all. How hard can that be? My mother-in-law used to have a saying. Whenever one of her kids would whine about, I don't have time for it, she would answer, say, it's not that you don't have time. You just choose to do something different with it. A lot of these comic book creators just choose to do something different with it. Or they're out doing their YouTube thing, spending hours and hours on live streams, instead of sitting down on their butts drawing comics. I do this YouTube stuff, but I'm doing it because, I actually block time away to do it. I don't spend more than 15, 20 minutes on it at the most, maybe 30 minutes if I really have a lot to rant about. But once I'm done, check my email, do a couple of posts on Facebook to engage the readers, see what's going on, see what's the latest news, and then I set a goal for myself. I said, today I'm going to do 2 pages. I got to get 2 pages done today. If I fall short of that, I'm kicking myself. I said, what happened? But I'll look and say, oh man, those 2 pages, that 1 page I did, oh, it's a killer page. It may be great, but it might make the book late. The thing is, it's that it may be great, but it'll be late. I don't want to disparage comic book creators for wanting to be distracted by other things. Life happens. I know. Things happen. Family, personal, medical issues, financial issues, personal issues, emotional issues. I mean, life gets in the way. Artists, are a very intricate lot to understand. Our mentality, for the most part, and I'm saying that to everyone, is that we like to create things from whole cloth. We love to see our creation become part of the pop culture lexicon. We want them to reach millions of people and become icons where we can make huge amounts of money. But you know what? That is rarefied air, my friend. I've been in this business for a long time, and I've yet to achieve anywhere near the financial success of some of my fellow creators. And not because I don't think, I'm talented enough. It's just that I haven't created something that have resonated with enough people to gain me the financial freedom to do what I want to do. So therefore, I have to keep creating. I have to keep creating. I got to keep producing every day. I got to do it. Because this is my job because I don't have that one thing that is credible to me to the stratosphere. Now, I came close. Warrior Nun came pretty close. Had I not sold the rights to Warrior Nun, I may have benefited very handsomely from the Netflix series. But it was not meant to be, unfortunately. So, it was my decision. I fully admit it. I'll live with it. It's just, I'm an adult. I made my choice. So, I don't let it get me down. I let it, motivate me to create the next thing that I hope will resonate with enough people that I can gain some financial freedom. That's really what we all want to strive to do. As comic book creators and such, what is our main goal in wanting to create comics to begin with? Because quite frankly, it's a very highly competitive industry. Everyone thinks that their creation is going to be the next big thing. Trust me, that's the mentality. And having to do hard work, well, that's part and parcel of the profession. You're expected to do the work. And the thing about it is that it's one thing to produce the work and hope that it sells. Another thing is to take the money in advance and sit on it for years. How disrespectful to the consumer to make them wait for something literally years when it shouldn't take that long. Really, honestly, it shouldn't take that long. I don't know how fast a lot of comic book creators. I know that at my speed, I can produce quite a few pages in a month. Well, that man, he's a hack. He doesn't know what he's doing. He knows how. Well, I tell you what, maybe I am a hack. If I am, I fully admit I am, but I don't think I am. I think I'm a creator who likes to just produce comics. I love comic books. I love drawing comic books. Comic books is my life. I enjoy doing it. I can't think of myself doing anything else. I hope someday, somebody will find me slumped over my desk, with a pen in hand, piece of paper on my, in front of me, and that would be my last work ever made. And that would, to me, be a beautiful end, in my opinion. I don't want to sound morbid, but eventually it happens to all of us. can't run away from it. So what do we leave behind? So I always say, this is what is possible if you put your mind to it. Think about this for a little bit. If you produce 1 page a day, it's a comic book creator. 1 page a day. In 22 days, you have a comic book, a standard comic book. Okay, so you produce 22 pages in a month. That still leaves you, 7, 8 days just to goof around, do whatever you want, take a little break, take a little vacation. You could take the weekends off if you wanted to and still produce a comic a month. So you produce 1 comic book a month. Well, in 12 months, you have 12 comics. Holy jumping Jehoshaphat. 12 comics in 1 year, who would have thought? So 12 comics in a year, what is that? In 5 years? 60 comics you've produced. 60. Okay? And in that 5 years, that's a long time. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. 5 years is a long time. But, so in 10 years, you produce 120 comics. 10 years and 120 comics. And if you own those comics books, why, you have 120 comics you can reprint till the cows come home. And so it goes on and on and on. It's a lot of people applaud when a comic book reaches an anniversary issue, and yeah, it does. You got to be proud of that if you reach a milestone. It is something that it is to be celebrated. That should show you the level of dedication and work, and also shows how that creation of yours has long-term potential. A lot of these comic books who are being created just during the heyday of the streaming, some of these comic books that were created just to sell to streaming services crash and burn eventually. Because you know what? You have to have a story that has potential. Now, what if you're somebody looking for an idea, are you going to take a comic book that's only been around for a year, maybe produce 1, 2 issues? Or are you going to take a comic book that's been around for decades and has nearly 200 issues, with almost unlimited story potential? It would seem like an easy choice to me, I would think. So as a consumer, you should not tolerate late books. You should not tolerate it. And a lot of consumers don't tolerate it. When a book is late, that's the fault of the editors, the fault of the publishers, the fault of the creator. There should be no excuse for a late book other than life itself. If you got into a car accident, or you have sickness, or you have some other issue that has proven to be detrimental in the production of your comic book, then that's understandable, and most people will forgive that. They'll understand. They know very well, and they're willing to forgive if they if something like that were to occur. But anyway, I just wanted to say that when a creator says that if you want time creates quality, then that's just a poor excuse of I'm too lazy to produce a comic book, or I'm distracted by something else and I don't want to spend the time to do it, or I'm looking at another gig and this one's not as important to me anymore. So I will tell you, that's the main reason a lot of these comic books are delayed, are stalled, or taking forever to do. Because quite frankly, if you can't produce a comic book on a regular basis, then what the heck are you doing? What the heck are you doing? So anyway, just a little food for thought. If you agree or disagree, I still want to hear what you have to say. Please like and subscribe. Press that little subscription. Press the little like button. It helps the algorithm. As you young people say, it helps the algorithm. Yeah, and until next time, this has been Done signing off.